Did you know that money is often cited as the leading cause of divorces in America? It's at the heart of so many issues between couples, regardless of whether there is too much or too little of it. And the sad thing is, most of the time, we don't really talk about such issues until things have already gone south. So, for all of you about to tie the knot or who have just embarked on this amazing journey together, I have got some heart-to-heart advice coming your way. We're going to break down how to really talk about money, nail down those shared goals and a budget, figure out the whole bank account situation, and even touch on the P word, prenup. Plus, I will toss in some tips for planning for your big day without breaking the bank. Let's dive in and ensure that money becomes a strength in your relationship, not a stumbling block. Understanding each other's financial situation is foundational to build a strong, healthy relationship, especially as you move towards marriage and abandon the idea that you are on your own doing this individually. The first tip then is to have open, honest conversations about your finances as early as possible. You will want to discuss your income, debts, savings, investments, and even your spending habits and financial goals. Why is this so crucial? I'm glad you asked. Because money, while often seen as a taboo topic, directly impacts almost every aspect of your life together. Knowing what you're getting into allows you both to plan effectively, manage expectations, and avoid unpleasant surprises in the future. But how do you start such a conversation? Instead of labeling this as the money talk and marking your calendars for a big, serious sit down about finances, why not weave it into your everyday conversations? It's like sharing bits of your day, only this time it's about how you handle money. And this approach keeps things light and builds financial openness gradually without any pressure. While you're doing something together, maybe throw in, hey, I was checking out my retirement account contributions today. How do you handle yours? Or I just got this amazing perk from my credit card. Which one do you use and what perks do you get? These are just examples, but the idea is to create a dialogue that's as natural as chatting about your day. And by making this chat part of your regular banter, you're doing something powerful. You're normalizing the conversation about finances and you're building a foundation of transparency. And before you know it, talking about income, savings, and spending habits will feel as normal as discussing what to have for dinner. And by the time you do need to have those deeper, more serious financial discussions, because eventually you will, you have already laid the groundwork. You have created an environment where talking about money is just another way to stay connected and support each other. And that's the real goal here, keeping your relationship strong, open, and ready to tackle not just the sunny days, but the rainy days too. Once you have a clear understanding of each other's financial standing, my next tip is to get on the same page and start pinpointing what you both want in the short term and down the road. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down together, and start envisioning your future. Consider what your money is going towards each month. Think about rent, groceries, those gym membership you swear you will start using, and any debts or loans you're tackling. Are you thinking about house hunting now or later? Owning a home might be on your wish list, but it requires significant savings, so discuss whether you are ready to embark on that journey now or if you prefer to wait. If you're harboring big dreams like embarking on a once-in-a-lifetime trip, starting a family, pursuing further education, or perhaps considering a career change, now is the time to lay everything out and ensure you both value the same things. Such conversations about common goals and budgets naturally lead to discussions about handling expenses and savings. Will you opt for joint bank accounts, separate accounts, or a mix of both? How will you divide things equally, or will one contribute more financially than the other? Today, I would like to share a perspective that might not resonate with everyone, and that's perfectly okay. Every family has its unique dynamics, and partners can contribute in diverse ways within the household. However, the method I propose is suited for couples where both partners work and have their own incomes. Couples manage their expenses in three ways. So it's either splitting every bill 50-50, relying solely on the higher earner's income, or pulling both incomes into a joint account to cover expenses and savings. The strategy I advocate for is a proportional contribution based on income. This method acknowledges that a simple 50-50 split may disproportionately burden the lower earner because, for example, $300 might represent 10% of one person's salary, but 25% of the other person's salary. It also acknowledges that living off the higher earner's income, it's not fair if both of you are bringing money home, and that merging all income in a joint account can overlook the individuality of each partner. You are individuals, and even though you share a life together, I'm sure each of you has your own aspirations, plans, and expenses. And I think it's extremely important and avoids a lot of problems if you aim to maintain at least a sense of financial independence and freedom. Here's how proportional contribution works in practice. Let's say one partner earns $5,200 monthly, while the other earns $3,800, resulting in a combined household income of $9,000. To find a fair contribution rate for shared expenses, you will look at what proportion of the total household income each person provides. For example, the higher earner's contribution will be calculated as $5,200 divided by the total $9,000, equating to roughly 58%. The lower earner will then also calculate their contribution by dividing their income of $3,800 by $9,000, which results in 42%. This way, instead of splitting it 50-50, expenses and savings are shared based on what each person can proportionally afford, with 58% of shared costs covered by the higher earner and 42% by the lower earner. For instance, if you are saving $3,000 for a vacation, one would contribute $1,740 and the other $1,260. Does that make sense? You can still set up a joint account to manage the shared expenses, or just assign each person specific bills to pay according to this ratio. Moving forward, the next step is to consider whether a prenup is right for you. Sometimes this conversation can be uncomfortable, as no one gets married expecting that one day they will get divorced. But we undertake financial planning, create agreements, and purchase insurance with everything is going well as safeguards in case things get bad. So if you want to avoid complications later on, you should deal with it now. How do you figure out if prenup is something you should consider? Well, it starts with understanding what happens if you don't have one, and how your assets and debts will be handled if, unfortunately, things don't work out. Without a prenup agreement, the distribution of assets upon divorce or death will follow the legal standards of the state where the divorce is filed. In the United States, this generally falls under two categories: community property and equitable distribution. Community property applies in only 9 states, which I will list here on the screen. And under this system, all assets acquired during the marriage are deemed community property and are typically divided equally in a divorce. Assets owned individually before the marriage or those received as gifts or inheritance are considered separate property and remain with the original owner. The rest of the states in the country operate under equitable distribution. So it's where the division of property accumulated during the marriage is determined by what is deemed fair and equitable, which doesn't always mean a 50-50 split. Factors that can influence this decision include the length of the marriage, the duration of it, each spouse's financial situation, contributions to the marriage, including non-financial contributions like bringing up a child and managing a home, and the specific circumstances surrounding the divorce. If the thought of leaving these decisions up to the state doesn't sit right with you, or if you just want to make sure there are clear expectations set from the start, then a prenup might be worth considering. It's a way to voice your preferences and protect your interests while still planning a future together. Now that you are familiar with what you are diving into, have reached a consensus on managing household finances, and understand the potential implications of a divorce and how to prepare for it, it's time to plan your big day without breaking the bank. First and foremost, let's concentrate on what is most important. And to do that, each partner should compile a list of their desired elements for the celebration, ranking each item by its significance. After both of you have completed your individual lists, merge them into a comprehensive one, which I will be displaying on the screen right now. This unified list should reflect the top priorities from each of your lists, because we want to make sure this is a fair decision-making process by honoring each person's preferences. The next step will be to do a detailed cost analysis for each item. Conduct extensive research, visit the websites of relevant vendors, and seek recommendations from friends or family who have hired similar services. If you can, consult with at least 3 different providers for each type of service to make an informed choice. Then note down these costs next to each item on your list and start saving accordingly. Begin saving for the most critical item, and once you have saved enough for it, proceed to the next item on the list, and so on. This type of organized list will serve as a visual tracker and allow you to monitor your savings progress as it comes together bit by bit. And there you have it. I truly hope that this video has helped you reflect on how you can manage finances as a couple. And remember, open communication and mutual understanding are your best tools in building a solid financial foundation for your future together. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time. Bye.